you're kind of like, you know what? It's like the diet thing, you know. I'll start dieting once we come back after this kind of break, and then the real work starts. But we are on to the picks and bans, ladies and gentlemen, for Rogue Warriors versus Team WE Game 2. Rogue Warriors, as we said, on the blue side with Rogue Warriors on the blue side with Team WE on the red. Samira, Lucian, and Akali banned by Team WE. Akali will not be going to work today. Rogue Warriors, they're planning big things for that top side, and they're actually going to go straight for Haro to have that grave, so he's going to be very safe and very fast.
Yeah, this is something that Haro has been super comfortable on, and a Rogue Warriors composition that we were talking about that personally I wanted to see them play more for team fighting, and just utilize the fact that they essentially have double AD carries with Haro and Cullen on this roster, and Ziv is a very good frontliner. So this time I think Rogue Warriors is probably going to go for something that is more tried and true, a more standard front-to-back composition on their side. But hey, they can still throw some flair into that mid lane.
See what they want to go for. The Olaf that was banned in Game 1 by Rogue Warriors has been let through. So the Kai'Sa and the Olaf picked up here for Team WE. They say you took away the Samira, we're going to take on the Kai'Sa. Again, Killen did not look bad on the Kai'Sa, just really didn't get going on it, unfortunately. The pieces around him weren't able to really protect him as well as he probably wanted. But Aphelios Thresh being locked in here now for the side of Rogue Warriors.
And the Moonlight Assassin is always picked together with the Thresh, gives him that ability to just take the Lantern and fly away from the Olaf. Otherwise, he doesn't have any sort of escape there. And this is a very comfortable position for Rogue Warriors. I think they just fill out with frontline champions on their part. You know, the Silas is still open, Ornn, Malphite, everything is still open for Ziv to pick up right here, and it's just going to be front to back on their end. On the other hand, we have WE coming in with one of their best flex picks. It's going to be the Set. Missing plays this, and Breathe also plays this, so you're never really quite sure where this champion is going to end up. And frankly, Shanks, we have seen a lot of mid lane players pick up the Set as well, so I like this curveball being thrown given the fact that they also have last pick.
Yeah, they can, you know, kind of flex into a bit more AP. Of course, Kai'Sa, not so much anymore, but definitely used to be able to kind of much more flex into the AP build, so you have options there. There's a lot you can do with this build. However, it does kind of sort of pigeonhole you into kind of taking something AP up into that top side, I feel, sometimes, if you want to be too AD damage heavy. But bans coming thick and fast. The Ornn banned away, the Yone. Again, more respect to Forge, not letting him have that very clearly pocket pick for him. And they're just making sure that they can get something, as we said, safe for Shanks in that mid lane.
And they're still leaving their options open for this Set to go into the support position. Orianna comes out, and you know, Syndra has been sort of the lane counter answer for a lot of the players in the LPL. Not a lot of mobility on the Orianna, very easy to set up ganks here. And it is going to be the Syndra locked in. And probably just a frontliner here. Malphite is still open. Sion is still open if Ziv really wants to go for it. And it is going to be the Gragas. Oh, this one's fairly interesting.
Well, hasn't locked it in just yet, so we won't just won't deep dive into it until it's locked. There you go, now deep dive.
So Gragas is very flexible in terms of how he can build. If you're ahead, we actually have seen a lot of Night Harvesters, just like Flandre showed us yesterday. But for the most part, he can still go into things like Sunfire Aegis or Frostfire Gauntlet. And the strength about him is that he's not really exposable in lane. We haven't really seen a laning phase where Gragas has came out massively behind. He has a lot of healing in lane. He can disengage quite easily. So it's very hard to punish him with a Gragas first pick. And I think that's why, you know, blind pick Gragas is being so popular. Ooh.
Blind pick Gragas is going to be responded with, though, with an Aurelia in the top side. So it's actually Shanks not going to be taking the Set in the mid lane. Neither is Breathe into the top side. It's going to be missing into this bot side. I actually completely forgot about Set support, which has probably been the most prominent place to see it in terms of pro play. And with this team comps now locked and loaded, both teams very much looking for the junglers to farm early, get those early power spikes with the 1 items, and just look to snowball the lanes if they possibly can.
This is such a fun comp coming out from WE. We have never seen them ran something like this, but this is basically dive buddies coming out from Breathe, coming out from Olaf, and they can also have Set go in with the showstopper, have a ball on him. There's so many ways to get to the backline and absolutely decimate the likes of an Aphelios. I just love that we're seeing this, you know, kind of right hook coming out from WE, a new composition, slotting in with new players, and really getting that new flavor in.
All right, looking at these two comps though, Clement, which one are you feeling? Because they feel like they do relatively similar things of kind of top laners going in, you know, the squishies trying to stay back as far as they can while also doing DPS. It seems like a very similar kind of little chop and change on both sides.
I think these comps are actually completely different, and what I want to say is that they're very contrasted. W are the ones that want to go in. If you're looking at this Orianna as kind of a, you know, make space for your AD carry, I think you're looking at it wrong. I think this Orianna is a combo piece. She's gonna put the ball on someone.
Okay.
They're gonna put it on most likely
on the Aurelia.
Daeshang.
They're gonna put it on the Aurelia.
Yeah, Aurelia, and they're gonna go in and they're gonna delete Cullen. So what Rogue Warriors have to do is they have to play disengage. And you know, saying that, I do like the idea of Gragas being in this composition a little bit better. Probably reading that W could go for something like this, where they're just rushing into your AD carry. You know, Gragas is going to get a lot of value with that explosive cast.
Dio's coming in as strong as they possibly can. Again, looking towards this kind of setup. I'd be curious to see, as you say, if the combo piece does work out for the side of Team WE. Actually, they find out how they know exactly where that ward is, so they know where not to path in the early game if they want to try and do any kind of early game shenanigans. And thank you, Clement, for educating me. You know, I'm a play-by-play. Sometimes I don't read the maps or read the team compositions that good, and it's great to get educated every now and again. And you do it very well.
I could be completely wrong, and W just play standard front to back, but I would be so disappointed if it did that. I think the correct way you play it is you have to go for Aphelios.
I still think it's far more likely that you're correct than I am. So putting it that way is how I kind of feel about it. As you can see, both mid laners kind of putting in, and both kind of sides of the jungle being warded by both teams, so they can see if there's a bit of an invade, a bit of a cheeky pathing or anything like that. So overall, waiting to see what they want to go for. And actually, Flash in from Missing forces out a cleanse. Flash at Ignite down, 2 summoners for 1. Not quite sure how worth that is, but the health trade was definitely in favor of Team WE.
And honestly, we've seen so many of these trades right here. The goal is really to get the flash out of Cullen early, so Olaf comes in, he can't flash backwards. You get a very, very easy kill on that. You know, unfortunately for WE this time around, Rogue Warriors played very, very well. They held on to their flashes, and the potential of a level 3 bot lane gank has fizzled out.
Yeah, we can see just a little bit of pressure in favor of Team WE after that engage. But with the Hex Flash, of course, you have got Missing. So pretty damn scary to kind of walk into if you're not sure which bush he's in. He still can, bridge the gap, I suppose. Again, just very kind of standard, you know, setup from both teams, trying to get as much vision as they possibly can now onto Haro. They'll know exactly where he is now on top of his blue buff. So good tracking, I feel, from the side of TW. As I say that, that's exactly what I called. They can use that Hex Flash, and the hook goes wide, and Chocho takes a huge chunk onto his health bar.
And Missing playing this extremely well, and this has been kind of his go-to champions. His champion pool so far has been Alistar, Leona, and Set. All of them hard engaged champions. They constantly burn their flashes quite early into the game just to allow Daeshang easy access into the bot lane, and they can kind of snowball it with the 3-man. So we're setting that up already in the bottom side, and it really is about the next rotation, you know. The Olaf is going to be heading straight towards his bot lane. He's going to be picking up likely the Gromps and the Wolves again, and that does present some golden opportunities to potentially punish this bot.
So a full clear coming out from
good stun.
Daeshang, but Shanks is in a little bit of trouble. Good stun, but Missing is here. The bot lane from Rogue Warriors had to back away, and they recognized that Team WE's bot lane was missing, so they had a pretty good inkling that they had roamed up towards mid, did not want to overextend. Good idea from the side of Rogue Warriors. I like the concept of it. I also like the fact that they chose to back away, knowing that they probably were going to get collapsed upon.
Yeah, the bot lane has been missing for a while right now, and no pun intended, Missing was there indeed. So clean back out right there.
Missing was missing.
And we are seeing the map being split up across these two teams. I will say this is slightly more favorable for WE, because they are the ones that have the easier gank onto the bottom lane as compared to going top lane and trying to fight against the wave on this Aurelia. So if this does become a split, I do expect WE to be the more satisfied party here. They're also taking away the camps, and that Drake control early is how they won game 1.
And Beishang shows himself in mid lane just to give Shanks a little bit of pressure. Both Forge and Shanks did use their teleports to get back into lane. He's missing, still level 3, roaming around. Has got a pair of brown bags on him as he's going to use the Hex Flash. Nicely done. Missing. Those are some Chad moves.
Right in front of the enemy team, dodges the hook as well, and he's out scot-free. So very well done right there. They get the reset down nicely as well with the CS lead into lane, extra damage onto the Kai'Sa, and the game plan is still on. You know, bot lane is still going to be a massive pressure point with this scuttle coming up for Beishang to path towards. They have to be very careful. I think that we're going to see a 6-man into the bot side.
See Beishang now roaming down towards the bot lane. They're trying to use the Hex Flash, but it's a 3v3. Like you said, the 6-man, but a teleport going to be committed here from the side of Team WE as now they join in with their top laner as well. Big TP in, but he's got nowhere to go and no real support. He has to flash himself away. But now Aurelia's in a little bit of trouble. Breathe needs to be very, very careful. He has to heal out. They get a hook landed. It's all over the place. Everyone's just kind of flashing away. Jomung walked a bit too far forward, and he will be first blooded over the side of Rogue Warriors. 2 first bloods in 2 games. Can they make anything else out of it?
Very well done by Chocho there. He used all of his abilities on cue, on point, was able to single out targets from W, forced multiple flashes out there, and they come out ahead despite their bot lane being pushed very, very far forward. It was a little bit unfortunate. I felt like Beishang could have actually concealed himself a little better as he went into the river. Was spotted by Graves, but now Shanks. Whew.
Oh, great shockwave, though, landing on the 2. I don't know if he's going to be able to turn this one around, but Forge takes a tower shot, and he's forced to flash away as well. Haro is here to make sure there's absolutely no more follow-up, and Beishang is there to protect his mid laner. So overall, a lot more action than there was in Game 1 this early, but no one goes down just yet. Just that first blood.
Super close call by Shanks, and I have to say, so far from what we've seen of this young mid laner, Orianna has been his best champion, but let's watch this fight happen again. The Flawless Duet does tag 2 targets, but I feel like Breathe actually goes in far too deep right there. He's in the middle of 4 people, and he has to flash just to get out. Nearly falls down. And how did he land that hook? Come on. How does that hitbox work? Wait a minute. Jomo was behind his... Okay, whatever. That was pretty nasty.
That one was an unreal hook to land from Chocho. And again, overall, these are kind of the small little moments of brilliance that we talked about from Rogue Warriors. They delayed the TP, which is a little bit, you know, kind of unfortunate, forcing the flash out of Ziv, but it did mean that they were able to kind of catch out Breathe, which also meant that Jomung was forced to step forward, and they were able to catch out him. The small little moments that they're able to kind of force the issue, I suppose, or push their agenda forward on top of Team WE. And as I said, Haro snuck himself in, has got the collateral damage. Big wave pushing toward the Rogue Warriors team. Jomung kind of feels like something's up. They feel like they're being a little bit coerced into something, but now with the jungler gone, it's back to a natural 2v2.
Yeah, and very good sense coming in from WE's bot lane right here. You know, they dodge out on the death sense, know the cooldown is down, walk up, clear the ward, and now they have successfully reset the wave. So, well done by them in kind of a hairy situation. I just can't get over that death sentence going over Set's shoulder just to snipe out Jomung. Well done by Chocho.
Yeah, honestly, very, very well done. And again, we have a look at, you know, kind of a small little kind of, you know, moments in this game. We can see Beishang and Haro now walking towards each other, but Breathe is here, so he has the support of his top laner. Missing in this bot side, they're going to try to go straight on top of him, as Missing goes straight in on top of Chocho, who's very, very low. They're going to use the killer instinct, but it's a trade of supports with both AD carries picking it up, but the shurikens are flying, and that's going to be the Aphelios 2v1. Gets himself 2 kills, 1 kill only going over to the side of Team WE. Very, very nicely done there by Rogue Warriors.
Perfect combo of guns right there, the Severin and the Crescendum, very easy to stack up right there, and he basically unloads on Jomung, who lost his flash in the previous skirmish. Strong win for Rogue Warriors, finally seeing this rookie in Cullen getting some action done, and W are going to try and equalize on the top side.
No, Shanks gets a scout of the week on top. Forge being walked in. Great, let's kiss. The shockwave does not land on multiple members, only lands on the Haru, who does not mind. He actually misses his intended target, but catches someone off the backside. Forge running for his life, gets a good scout of the week, so he's not able to be taken down. The exhausted Breathe is still able to pick up a kill off the backside. Chocho, though, landing another fantastic Thresh hook, but that is an Aurelia with a Vanguard's Edge. You need to be so careful, but that being said, here comes the Aphelios, here comes the explosive cast. And now Rogue Warriors are really starting to ramp up.
I just want to say that, oh my god, Forge outplayed the heck out of Beishang right there. There was no way that Syndra should have been allowed to escape in that scenario, but he does. And right now we're going to see a Herald for the Drake trade. Beishang not missing a beat. He might have been outskilled, I would say, in the mid lane, but he still finds a good consolation prize in that Drake going into it. However, we do have to notice that Cullen is going to start to hurt. That is a 4-0 AD carry at 10 minutes already with the Kraken completed.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like the 200 years meme is very much a meme right now. But when you're 4-0 up, that's not really that big of a meme anymore. That's just you being very, very fed, and you're gonna have to be very careful coming into these fights. As we have a quick look back into how it kind of happened, and it feels like again it was just kind of Rogue Warriors finding an opportunity where WE thought they found theirs.
Yeah, Missing had a very good start to the fight, but unfortunately for them, the 3v3 with Chocho coming in was more in favor of Rogue Warriors right here. And we could see Breathe coming in once again, goes straight into a brush and pretty much gives up his life. Cullen has been rotating towards this fight since the beginning of it. He picks up the easy freebie right now, and they're going to be able to push down towers with pretty much disregard to whatever W can throw at them. He's just going to deal that much damage. I don't think Breathe can contest whatsoever. He's going to have to back off even in the 2v1 scenario with this tower. So it's going to be objective lead over to Rogue Warriors, and the snowball is going to continue.
Snowball will continue. However, it is equaled out on the opposite side. And I think the big thing to notice here is look at the CS differential in top lane. That is a 45 CS differential in favor of Breathe. So yes, he's not as fed as an Aphelios, but he is still getting to his items a hell of a lot quicker than this, this Gragas is. So Breathe gonna be trying to see if he can back off away from this Scuttle. Or sorry, Rift Herald. The large Scuttle. The Mama Scuttle, as I like to call it. But as I said, that's all happening. Missing tries to use ultimate. Great flash over the back end. Collateral damage just misses. And that is going to be Missing getting out just about with the scrape of his life. Arrow is there. Beishang did clock him with an axe. Shanks is getting hit by more and more CC. Another hook lands. He's going to have to use a shockwave. Does land on the 2, but he goes down anyway. Vanguard's Edge and the teleport use. There is a kill down onto Harrow, so it's going to end up being a trade of 1 for 1. The Kaiser is not here. Great explosive cast on the Beishang. They can just lock him down. The hook goes wide, but it does not matter. Forge gets donated a kill. And Rogue Warriors, this is what we were talking about. These small flashes are becoming a bit of a fire, and Team WE need to try and turn them off because they are starting to burn.
Very, very well played by Rogue Warriors members coming in there. I love that prediction explosive cast coming in from Ziv. He basically sealed off the entire corridor and made sure they got another exit kill right there. So in the end of the day, we see Cullen picking up 2 more assists, getting the top lane tower, and WE not able to shut him down. That is going to be the primary goal for W in these next couple of minutes. If they can't find an answer to Cullen, if he's allowed to continue on this trajectory, they're not going to win any of these team fights. He's just going to be too damn difficult to deal with. And we know we've seen this in a lot of games where the composition is we need to dive you, and the other time needs to play defensively. If the defensive side gets too far ahead, even if you land on top of the AD carry, it's going to be too hard to shut him down.
And that tower, just about goes down with the last minion. But everyone from Rogue Warriors is here. Well, at least the people with CC are, and the decent amount of damage. Gale Force has been finished off for Harrow as well. So Dragon fight in a minute and 15 seconds or a little less will be huge. But let's have a look at this fight, because again, it's Shanks getting caught out with a very, very well placed Scatter the Weak.
Yeah, and honestly, I felt like at the start of this was W trying to play a little bit too defensive, trying to hold on to too much of their top side when they really couldn't afford to do it at that point. The members from Rogue Warriors were way too fed, and honestly, you have to let that top lane tower go. So that wasn't really a necessary fight in my eyes from WE's point. and you know, they do get punished for it.
We talked about how, you know, WE are coming into the 2021 Spring Split. They want to be playoff contenders. They want to be the dark horse. Again, like we said, a lot of us, you know, had Team WE very, very high up in our predictions. We think this team could make it into top 3 or, you know, bare minimum top 4. You need to be dispatching these lower kind of placed teams as such, as we can see. Jomong and Killer trying to go in on top of each other. The Gale Force has been finished though by Jomong. Has to use his heal though as well. Little bit overzealous there. Felt like he could have taken the 1v1, but like you said, this Aphelios is massive. And with Dragon spawning in 4 seconds, not having your heal, not having your Gale Force for another few seconds, it's going to be tough for them. Missing gets caught out by the hook. They're going to have to put down a lot of damage down on top of him. His shield goes to waste as no one was putting down DPS at that time, and now he's half health.
Man, I love it when the young LPL rookies just come up and start skill checking you. 1v1 solo me mid. Let's try it out. Let's see what happens right there. And that's something you don't see in other regions that much. You know, you usually get a nice punishing or a good talk from your coach if you try to do that. But Cullen just steps right up, hands it to Jomong, and they walk away with the Drake very easily. So, well done on that point. And, you know, I'm seeing why Rogue Warriors might be trying to hype up this new youngster that they brought in.
Definitely having a fantastic game right here, but it's not a sprint, it is a marathon. You have to end it. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So they have to try and find advantages. It is only 1,300 gold lead, maybe even a little less. So it's nothing really to be writing home about just yet. But positives for Rogue Warriors are very strong. Missing is looking for plays with the set as best he can. And I like how they just did enough damage to just pepper Team WE away from that dragon, take the objective, reset, and maybe look for something different in the mid lane. As I say that, Harrow needs to be a bit careful. That is still a Kaiser with a set. You could get chunked out yourself.
Yeah, a Gale Force straight in, but takes a lot of damage to the face. Has to back out right here. Taking a look at the map, I think the real change that we have right now is Breed has finally been moved into a long lane. He's not going to be opposed in terms of split pushing. Syndra can't match him. The Gragas surely can't match him. So W should have the numbers advantage coming into some of these team fights now that they have that winning side lane.
Missing takes a bit of a chunk. Rift Herald is being taken by Beishang. He's already started to open out his team, but Rogue Warriors might have other ideas. We'd love to see it. Hook goes wide, and now Chocho in a little bit of a compromised position. They missed the scatter of the week. The Rift Herald does go down. It went down in favor of Team WE. They picked it up, and now everybody backs away. The hook missing, I feel, was key for Rogue Warriors. They couldn't find a solid engage. As I said, Civ very, very squishy still on this. Gragas still not at the point where he wants to be. Still waiting on his first item completion, funny enough. And everyone backs away. It ends up being an objective for nothing.
Yeah, I would say Rogue Warriors actually played that a little bit more timid than I expected, because they had full vision control of all of the brushes on their side of the river. They definitely could have tried and started that, and Cullen would have been able to wipe the floor with that. Instead, they go for the tempo move. They let W walk out, and they're going to trade it for some tower damage. I felt like they could have done more.
A little bit of tower damage. You can.
I definitely felt like they could have
Yeah,
won.
I feel like they were definitely acting a little scared. I feel like this Aurelia pick is as cause it is so far ahead of this Gragas right now with a completed item versus literally a bunch of half items. Is it's kind of getting in their heads a little bit. They need to try and just realize that they are at a very, very strong position, and that 2 items on your Aphelios versus, or 2.5 almost on your Aphelios versus the 1.5 on the Kaiser. You're going to do a lot more DPS if you just play the fights correctly, and I feel like they're kind of overthinking those engages a little bit too much.
Yeah, that was a fight I definitely would have taken, especially if you have red wards on your side of the river. You have the trinkets all down line over there. Your AD carry could just pop in and out of vision. It's going to be very hard. And honestly, in terms of full teamfight potential, Aurelia's not going to get that until she has that Sterix gauge. Like, before that, she's actually going to be fairly easy to burst down if she just runs into you.
Seraph's very different to the Seraphs it was in 2020. Of course, a lot of new items. Some old, some new, some updated, some blue.
Now the Sterix gauge, if all 5 members of the enemy team hit you, it actually gives you a 40% max HP shield. So it's absolutely ridiculous for diving champions like Olaf and Aurelia. And that's usually the break point that we see these split pushing carries try to join in team fights.
Man, the CS differential in the top lane is kind of getting to a bit of an uncontrollable moment. You can see they're just funneling more CS into the Aurelia as she goes up towards that top side, but 70 CS more or less in that top side is significant. It's not, normally 20 CS-ish is about, about 10, about a kill or so, like give or take. So, 70 is a lot. It's about 3 or so kills on top of the 2 kills that she's already got. So she is just skyrocketing ahead of this Gragas. And I feel like Ziv is kind of relying on these very, very good either flash explosive barrels or flash body slams.
And that's also the reason why I feel like you need to be somewhat proactive with your composition, because you want to force Breathe to actually join team fights and not just farm all day. Like, Aurelia will become a ticking time bomb as this game does go on, and sometimes, even though you're the defensive composition, you do have to force W to actually expend time and resources to just slow down their top.
Oh, no. Ziv is in a lot of trouble underneath this turret, and he will not be able to get out. However, Jomong in the same position just walks in front of 3 members and dies. Because you know what? Why not? They're getting a kill, we'll get a kill, it's all G, and that is a very, very big unforced error on the side of Team WE, where there was no need for Jomong to be there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a head scratcher, and frankly, pretty common from Jomong. I have to be honest, this is a big divisive point on how high people rank Jomong. He has great damage numbers, he has great output, but in terms of positioning, I really don't put him as elite in terms of the AD carries in the LPL, so that's a bit of a oopsies, but also we have to mention it is something that we see pretty common from Jomong.
Yeah, and this is kind of the conversation, I suppose, when we talk about being a top-tier team in LPL, being a team that can realistically go to Worlds and fight against the likes of Damwon, is that you can't just... Team WE have got 3 very, very solid players in their top, their jungle, and their support. Mid lane's still very much an unknown. We're still waiting to see how Shanks actually develops. So, again, still a very young player. But Jomong, like you said, just moments like that just stop us from really putting Team WE alongside the likes of, JDG and Top Esports.
Our observers are never going to forgive you. They're going to layer on the hurt. They're going to sprinkle the salt all over the wound. I love the observers in the LPL.
I used to observe an LEC. You focus in on that. If someone dies to minion auto attacks, you zoom in on those auto attacks and you make sure everyone knows that's how they died.
Hey, brutality is the reason we watch sports. I truly believe that.
Yes.
But taking a look at the items right here, holy, Cullen, RA60
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm trying to think of like where Rogue Warriors kind of deal with this massive hole up in top side where this Aurelia is just becoming an absolute issue. As we see bot lane, Ziv's just being bullied. This is straight up bullied. He had phase rush. He should be able to get himself over the wall and should be able to keep himself alive. But he's getting no farm. He's getting no CS. But with 2 people down bot lane and one of those people being the jungler, that means that the Baron's going to be started right here. This is actually a bit of a dangerous call, though. Shanks has got his ultimate. If he gets himself in, Chocho is very, very low. TP's being called in. This is so risky. Beishang has been given time. Beishang is almost there. The Dragon, or the Baron down to about 2,000 HP.
So
they kill down Chocho, but missing is there. But the shotgun into the backside. The Baron killed him. The Baron killed him. No! The 6th man, the imposter. He was sus the whole time. And Rogue Warriors didn't even know. He takes himself a kill. And this is all gone wrong for Rogue Warriors, but elation for Team WE.
Oh, the inexperience really bites Rogue Warrior in the butt. They funnel into the Baron pit thinking that they can rush it, but they don't have tanks that can take up those Baron shots. The Baron was dealing so much damage to them, and in the final moments, Haru actually walks into the back of the Baron. The back of the Baron does 50% extra damage when those spikes come out. He gets completely speared in that position, and it's just disaster. What a heartbreaking moment.
Oh, that's gotta feel bad for Rogue Warriors, because I genuinely believe that that was the correct call. You saw the jungler down bot side with with the Aurelia, but I feel like to commit to it, it just felt like an overstretch, because right here they can back off. They don't need to commit this hard.
I really disagree that this was the right call because of the fact that they have no one to actually tank the Baron. They're taking way too much damage on the way in, and the enemy composition can have access into the Baron pit fairly easily. They are a dive comp. They are built to rush forward. So I just felt like W could have played this a little bit more defensively and held on to that 5v5 team comp. win. Now they have to fight someone who is 4-1-1, has the mythic completed already and Breathe, and it's just going to be difficult.
This is getting to the point of no return, as we can see the Aphelios jumping in. Flawless Roulette means nothing. That is a solo kill. It doesn't matter how far ahead you are. I am a 7-1-2 Aphelios with 3.5 items. I am at the late game.
Oh my god. And a lot of those auto attacks were coming out of Fog of War, and I feel like Breathe couldn't even react in time. You know, he was still holding on to his ultimate, and everything just instantly gets popped.
And this is the win condition. Like that, you know, Ziv unfortunately is the CC bot at this stage. He doesn't need to get any kind of minions at this stage. Well, he does obviously need them, but they don't care if he does or not, because the Aphelios is where you're going to win this game. You need to protect killing as much as you physically possibly can and just keep him as relevant and as high DPS as possible. As Joe Monk does get jumped on. Nice little sidestep there as he keeps himself alive from the scatter of the weak. That lands, but as I say that, Missing goes in. Missing trying to get as much as he possibly can. The box goes down. Shockwave onto 3. And Breathe and Joe Monk trying to see if they get it. Sorry, Beishong and Joe Monk trying to get in. But Beishong is just able to get so much damage. He is untouched as this Olaf. Unperturbed as well as he goes into the Ragnarok. They pick themselves up several kills as Breathe wasn't even there. That was a 4v5 and they get 4 kills.
Oh, it was all a bait coming in from Joe Monk. You thought you could catch me multiple times. Forge actually overextends to try to get that kill, and that's the go button for WE. They know the summoners are down, they rush in, and what a beautiful placement of the ball coming in from Shanks, getting that triple and landing the easy cleanup for the rest of the team.
It was a slow start, ladies and gentlemen. Slow, you know, couple of games. Yesterday's first game was fun. The EDG OMG was one. But the Baron throws, the unreal, unnecessary outplays that you have to perform because you put yourself in a bad position. That is why we love LPL. This is just such a strange moment where you flash in trying to get the pick, and then great move from Missing. Just realized he's in a perfect position for a flank.
Yep, he goes in, forces out the flash, and watch the ball placement. No one is watching Shanks. Nobody knows that's there. Jomo flies right in with the collector to get some extra money, and they finish off the rest of Rogue Warriors just like that. It was really well done, and I think WE is just beating Rogue Warriors a lot of times out of having a better being more cognizant of their win conditions. They know that, hey, if you overextend, they're instantly going to punish. They're much quicker on their feet when it comes to these teamfight plays and teamfight calls.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, on a fundamental level, Team WE just understand their champions and understand their team composition just that bit better than Rogue Warrior understands theirs. So, and, you know, vice versa as well. Like, they understand where Rogue Warriors can get them and, you know, where they can capitalize on. So those mistakes, like you said, very hard punished. And it just feels like Team WE are kind of, like you said, just able to get higher or bigger advantages from those small little mistakes rather than Rogue Warriors, which picked up a couple of small quick kills but didn't really gain anything from it. They didn't gain a huge dragon lead, they didn't gain a massive gold lead, and then it was one bad call at a Baron that all of a sudden this game is now 7,000 gold away from them.
Rogue Warriors did not get to play front-to-back teamfight whatsoever. I think that's the most critical point right now. If they can set up from Cullen, he has more than enough damage to mow down all of the WE members, but W are just finding opportunities and not allowing Rogue Warriors to have the proper setup. You know, Rogue Warriors were ahead, but now they're down 7k, and I'm really going to be so upset if they can't pull off just one 5v5, because honestly, even given this state, it's still fairly possible that Rogue Warriors can come back in just one teamfight. It definitely can be done.
You look at the Aphelios, just look at his items, you know, like he has got his 4 items now. He is a monster. If he's able to get the right gun set up, if he's able to get the right team fight where he is protected, he will shred through health bars. There's not really a quote-unquote true tank on the side of Team WE. Yes, you could say that the Olaf, but within Ragnarok, he loses resistances. The set's not going to have the items to really tank up that much for that long. The Aurelia is a bruiser at, you know, a bruiser fighter, so there is opportunity. But if we're going based off of execution, Rogue Warriors haven't exactly been the greatest at execution in the last few team fights either. So they're going to need, honestly, a couple of Team WE mistakes to really make this one stick.
Yep. What they need to do is they really need to be on the objective first. Their team comp isn't really going to face check very well. I think Ziv at this point, he just isn't tanky enough. So they can't be walking through brushes against the W comp anymore. They likely have to just group mid, take a risky gambit, push this wave out, and try to be on those objectives a little bit earlier than W. W, however, not going to give them that chance. They're just going to start it.
Missing is still on the flank here, so this could be a good pincer movement, but Missing could be turned on as well. This is a bit of a risky biscuit for both teams. Baron down to about just below 3,000 HP. They go in, they're not going to be able to get the steal. Missing jumps in with the ultimate to try and get this part started off, but the Vanguard's Edge and the Aphelios, the win condition, the president of this composition is dead. He is down, and the Secret Service needs to run away. They cannot defend themselves anymore. It's a triple for Breathe on the Aurelia, and this game is all but over.
Absolute nuisance that Missing was in that team fight. He gets the crowd control down onto Cullen. Cullen doesn't even have any chance to use his summoners. Jomung flies right in. Breathe is right next to his side, and they instantly kill the Aphelio. So very well done. Great execution on the side of WE. They are showing so many different comps at such a high level of execution and understanding today. It's absolutely mind-boggling. First game, it was the tried and true teamfight composition. Just set up your chips, get your formation straight, snowball the Drakes. Very well done. In this game around, they have Breathe, who is massively ahead in the top lane. They split Rogue Warrior's composition apart, and then they just go for the kill onto the Fed AD carry. So very well done in both games.
Yeah, and I kind of say, like, the draft from the side of Team WE this game, they waited for the top lane pick, they got the counter, and it paid massive dividends. That Aurelia became unstoppable for a very long time. You know, nothing that Ziv could do. And yes, you might look and kind of say that Ziv was, you know, on the Gragas and played a bad game, but honestly, I feel like there wasn't really a lot he can do there. He got hard counterpicked and was just left on an island to kind of suffer until Rogue Warriors realized, oh wait, he's now just a CC bot. So again, you know, understanding of compositions, understanding of the champions and their limitations. I think Team WE looks fantastic in that regard. Definitely some small little rough edges. Jomung getting caught out a couple of times. Rogue Warriors definitely able to capitalize on some of those earlier mistakes. But Team WE, if they're able to pick up these wins, you know, and work on those mistakes, they could potentially be a top team if they can work on those mistakes.
Rogue Wars, for me, this was a little bit weird because they actually have a pretty veteran roster overall. Chocho is a shot caller. Ziv has been playing since 2015 in the LMS and later in the PCS. So for me, a lot of Rogue Warriors mistakes actually came from being impatient. The Baron call was a scenario where that happened, and also the mid lane play where Forge actually just burned his flash to go forward. I felt like they didn't need to make those plays. They were in a very strong position. If they ever set up on the objective first, they could have definitely turned those fights. However, they gave a lot of opportunities over to WE, and W were lightning quick on capitalizing on those opportunities given. So just very well done on WE. I think if this matchup, I don't think it was much about mechanics. It was mainly about decision making and just understanding when to go in, when to make the killing blow.
Yeah, again, it was just very good shot calls coming out all around for Team WE, and they knew exactly what the game plan was. They got the Olaf, which was banned in the first game. Of course, we see why now. Beishang was just very oppressive on that pick, was able to kind of influence. We saw him early getting the evade off, getting himself ahead, and just, yeah, like you said, just understanding where he needed to be, where they needed to go, and how to execute on their composition. And we didn't get the exact kind of, you know, jump in with the Aurelia and the Olaf composition that you wanted with the Orianna ball, but we got something very similar just because Rogue Warriors felt like they were just throwing a lot of, you know, a lot of mud on the wall and seeing what stuck, and unfortunately for them, WE are great cleaners.
That's definitely true. I will say though, there are glimpses of promise coming in from this team. I think that Cullen has showed himself to be quite an impressive AD carry. We have to remember this guy almost has no history to speak of, only 7 games played in the LDL, and Rogue Warriors put a lot of faith in starting him over the likes of Betty, who frankly had a pretty good time on RNG, was recognized as probably their best player last year. So it's you know, there are definitely things to watch out for in this rebuilding Rogue Warriors roster. And honestly, I don't think they look as bad as they did last year when they were a 15th place team. You know, we still have some of the problems where they're going in maybe a little bit too early, but there are things that I think they are definitely showcasing that they can do.
Yeah, I think Keelan on this Aphelios looked fantastic. I think that we talked about how we assumed that this Rogue Warriors roster was going to be a lot more Harrow kind of focused. It feels like they should be leaning towards more of that bot side. It feels like that's the win condition they can really look for. Just based off this one series, it's a very, very small sample size, of course, but overall, there are still positives for Rogue Warriors, and like you said, they still look better than the team they did last year. Team WE, exact same situation. They look much better than they did last year, and I feel like this roster is just finally coming together, and it's getting results. I know, again, very small sample size, still the start of the season, but getting this early result to get your foot, right in the right direction, getting you off the mark is so important.
Yeah, if you told me W could actually control side lanes last year, I wouldn't believe you. That was going to be a myth. But this time around...
you would have been a liar.
Yes. Like, Morgan didn't really function that way, and towards the end of the split, he didn't really look that good. Teacher Ma also had trouble holding himself up to the standard in his own lane as well. And now we're seeing a completely different W where they are starting to take on... I feel like a few notes from JD Gaming where they can swap between different compositions quite freely and be expert level on all of these comps. So this is a really good showcase from WE. They're showing exactly what we want out of them, and that is diversity, flexibility in terms of the team compositions, and they still got the execution level down as well. I think WE is going to be an incredibly strong team. Very good contender, and I'm still holding my breath. I'm still having them in the 6th or 7th spot, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they run into like IG in playoffs and just suddenly make it into semifinals.
I was gonna ask, because does this game give you more positivity towards them? Of course, you've already answered that question, but again, yeah, I think if they can continue the strengths, shore up the weaknesses, they will look great. And I think for Rogue Warriors, there's a lot to learn here. Of course, there's a lot you can take from this series, and you've lost against what could potentially be a top 4 team in the LPL. That's not exactly the worst thing to be starting off the season with. So there's still more positives. They still have plenty more games to go, 15 more series in the spring split to go, plenty of time for them. And overall, I still think that, for Rogue Warriors, there's a lot of room for development, and I'm very curious to see how this bot lane develops as well. They look good in the 2v2 as well. Like that, there was a lot of times where they were just like absolutely slapping Jomong and missing around. So I'm excited for this team.
The only worry I would say for Rogue Warriors is Haro and Forge. I don't think that duo showed up, and if you're not going to show up against Shanks,
sadly not.
This line of attack, this line of building for your composition might not pan out very well. So I think we're going to see Rogue Warriors still have a little bit of troubles. They're still going to have to go soul search a little bit, but the general structure is there. It's going to be 5v5 team fighting. It's going to be play around your AD carry, and essentially you're going to have 2 of them in Haro and Kulin. So if they just slow things down a little bit, tell Forge, hey, you're no longer on Vici. You no longer have to rush forward every time. It's okay. You can play back. Wait until the enemy team. You just sit next to a fed AD carry. It's fine. Then if they can get that through to him, I think Rogue Warriors can still show up.
Yeah, they could potentially could. And like you said, I think Haro was definitely someone who had a bad series, in my opinion. He did not really show up at all. I know we talked about the duo kind of between himself and the mid laner, but I feel like he was very much negated, but overall. But we'll see how he develops. It is, again, very, very, very early on in the season. But we have got our MVP for the second game. And it's going to be Shanks, the mid laner, again. And I just feel like maybe it shouldn't have been Shanks, and maybe it should have been the Aurelia, but I do not make these decisions, ladies and gentlemen. He had a solid game. He had a couple of solid ultimates with the Orianna. Overall, he's just getting 2 MVPs, and that's going to feel good for him.
Yep, there's going to be a lot more control mages that we are see going on in this meta. I think overall, with the damage tuned down in 11.1, control mages are kind of the way to go. You can get a couple more rotations out of them these days, and a rotation like that will almost instantly win you the game anyway. So, well played on Shanks. He's coming in at the right time, at the right meta, and he's going to fill in WE for exactly what they need.
Yeah, again, he feels like a much bigger improvement than on, no offense to Teacher Mal, just feels like he's a much better meta, kind of grasp of the meta, I suppose. It feels like he's definitely going to feel a lot stronger as the season goes on if this team can really mesh well. So overall, pretty positive for Team WE. I'm just have a quick look now to kind of see what their next kind of setup of games are, because like you said, top teams tend to drop, games against the not necessarily lower, but definitely some surprising results as we go on through the season. They got V5 coming up next, and then they got IG. So actually two very, very difficult games coming up for them next week in week 2.
Yeah, those are going to be quite difficult. IG is typically one of those teams that actually does very well at the start of the split, and then they kind of lose interest and peter off. So if I'm doing the scheduling, I always prefer IG at close to the end rather than upfront at the start. And V5 also is going to be a very hard opponent. So, W really have their work cut out for them. Let's see if they can sneak some wins away from those teams.
Yeah, and we're going to send it over to Wendy for a post-match interview.
Hi guys, welcome to the interview, and this time we have invited Zhou Meng from Xi'an WE to join us after getting a 2-0 victory against RW. So first of all, congratulations on this win, and we have noticed that there are some roster changes of WE. So could we know what kind of preparations did you guys make during this off-season? 那首先恭喜你们获得本场比赛的胜利。那其实我们也注意到 WE 有一些阵容上人员上的变动，所以想问一下，在休赛期在哪些方面着重的进行了调整和准备呢？
因为我们5个人就是有2个人就是刚过来嘛，然后所以说我们更多就需要磨合，然后还有我们的沟通吧，然后这种。
Because for this split, two of our teammates is their first time to join in our WE. So we try to do more preparations in terms of the improving our synergies and also the communication parts. And my next question is actually Samira is a very hot pick in the current meta, but unfortunately in Day 1's game, although it has been picked 3 times, but Samira didn't manage to win any of them. So I really would like to ask Zhou Meng about his opinion towards that champion Samira, because his Samira got a very clean performance in Game 1. 那么其实想问一下关于塞米拉这个英雄的你的一个看法，因为其实在昨天的比赛之中，这个英雄出场过3次，但是都没有能够拿下胜利。但是你今天的萨米拉有一个非常非常好的一个发挥，所以想问一下你对这个英雄在当前的版本有什么样的一个看法呢？
我觉得萨米拉这个英雄就还是可以先选的吧，就是版本 T1 的那种。然后因为前面的比赛可能就是更多的是就是团战什么的，然后所以说，但我们今天赢了，就是我们前面打的就还可以，然后所以我们赢了这场比赛。
I still think Samira is a very good pick and is also a T1 Tier 1 AD champions. And also, I think in the previous matchups, Samira didn't manage to have a very good performance, maybe in the team fights. But for today's game, we try to manage to play with her. So I think that's why we're able to win this game today. And my next question is in Game 2. Actually, RW tried to grab some leads from the very beginning, and it seems they try to target on the ball lane as well. But around 22 minutes, you guys managed to have a very clean team fight around the Baron and also steal that Baron. So could we know what happened there and who made the shot call? 那么其实说到第2局比赛，对面好像有特意的在前期就比较针对下路，然后同时在前期取得了一些优势。所以想问一下，你们在22分钟那一波完美的大龙团，同时也是拿到了那条大龙，当时是谁来做的决策？发生了什么呢？
因为当时我们视野就已经看见对面在打大龙了，然后我们就觉得是个机会，然后所以说我们当时就沟通了，就是可以打，然后我们就团战赢了。
From the vision, actually, we have noticed that the opponent's team tried to do something with the Baron, so we think it's a very good opportunity to make the engagement, and also we are able to get this Baron and also win that team fight. So my last question is, today's performance is really impressive, so I would like to hear from Zhou Meng, what's your goal for this spring split? 那么最后一个问题也是你们今天的表现无疑是非常的亮眼，所以想问一下关于这个赛季的目标是什么呢？
就尽量赢下每一场吧。
Our goal is try our best to win every single games. And thank you, Zhou Meng, for joining us. And we are looking forward for W's performance in the following matchups as well. Thank you, and this is the end of our interview. Bye.